Hey everyone. Welcome to Soulfish. I am really glad you're here. If you're tuning in, I really want to thank you. I want to thank you for all the work you do on you, for the seeking, for the exploration. Our community is about truth. And truth is where you find it, in all places. So we're not proposing any one ideology here other than truth. And truth changes as you learn more. But there's something about it that you know in you that resonates, right? That you know deep inside that there's somehow, whether it's worded right, whether it's, not entirely perfect, but you know somehow in you that there is a truth there. And that is what we're here to do. What I want to share with you today is what I'm being shown, what I'm being told. From spirit, from energy. So that's the collective, what is the general vibe? That's, what's happening in the sessions, on YouTube comments or emails, what have you. So this is a sharing, this is an energy reading for August 28th, 2019. And it's really about how you're feeling, what should you be doing right now before the new moon. But there's even something grander, something bigger. This is almost a subset of a grander cycle, which comes to the end of August, really takes hold at the beginning of September. And that's really the commencement, the beginning, the real start of that next story. The block ends. That's the doing time. So just a few more days of some heavier feelings to help squeeze out of you. Just a few more days for you to make sure your intentions are in the right place. Let me remind you that if you feel it, if the messages here resonate, if the teachings, if you feel what we're saying is some truth in this, please subscribe, like, comment, join our community. We're growing thanks to you. Our message is spreading thanks to you. More importantly, if you're practicing your practice, thank you. As we all learn, and I've brought this up, I think, in the past, but it's proven from a collective conscious, scientifically proven, that they had this crossword puzzle in England or what have you. Nobody was solving it. Somebody finally did, and then shortly thereafter, everyone solved it. And the only explanation was that something happened. There was a transfer, a download to everyone else where whatever was the blockage had been removed. There was also a time when Einstein and all the other guys, Schrodinger, all these other guys got together, and what they learned was that their consciousness had an impact on the experiments that they were conducting. If they had strong feelings, strong commitment towards a particular outcome, then they felt that their consciousness affected the actual experimental results. So, how does this tie into the new moon subcycle to a larger, grander cycle where this new story, this new cycle of about 2 years is going to take place, that you are forming this plan, this identity, everything is taking form, this shape, as I see it, is like almost like Minecraft, where all these blocks, you're a block person, all your blocks kind of come together and your landscape is going all around you, like all coming together. And you're going to be staring at that, and wherever you're standing, whatever you're wearing, whoever your friends are at that moment, etc. That's how you begin this next story. That is who you take forward in this next chapter, and this is chapter 1 of. So that's the grander cycle. And then within that grander cycle, and if you think about the timing of all of this, the grand timing of all of this is a new moon. And that's coming up in just the next 2 days. And at the beginning of the next month, at the beginning of a new grand cycle, for semantics, I'm not grand cycle for me. It just means that, if you can imagine a swirling ring and then other swirling rings within that of different shapes and sizes, but there's one big swirling ring, and that's the theme, that's the cycle, that's the grand cycle. And that cycle in this case is a 2-year cycle. So we're not talking about, I'm not comparing that to some Mayan prophecy or, something grander. I am, though, just saying the way I see things and the way it's shown to me and the way the energy reads is that there's a demarcation line, there's a block, bink, and then there's the new start, and we're on the cusp of that. And in this new moon time, as we're approaching a new moon time, think about what that really means. Think about that you're supposed to be letting go. Things have shifted when we moved away from a moon cycle, from a lunar cycle management, and went into this 31 day cycle of stuff, the shifting of, right? It was a little bit of a shifting of. That affects your energy. That affects how you view things. So what I've learned and have proven that works great in my practice is that if I follow more of the moon schedule, like an inhale and an exhale. So from a new moon until the full moon is the inhale, that's the building up, and the expansion of, growth of, I put my energies towards growth, expansion of, things like that. And then in the second half of that lunar cycle, I put my energies on the expulsion of, on the letting go of the passing on. And so I spend my efforts in a growth and in a kind of renewal, a letting go of, a opening up, a pouring out of the cup, so that I could fill it again, 14 days later and change, So that's worked well in my practice. And I continue to focus in on that because I like to measure stuff. And I find that's been an effective way to get in touch with the energy, to understand what the flow, to be in harmony with what's going on around me in a natural sense, in an organic sense. And when you're in that kind of flow, and you're not trying to control things or bend things to your will, and you're in a flow, you're feeling what seems natural, what's organic, even if it's contrary to what you want, really, or things are going too slow. It does bring some understanding, and you find that with less resistance, you can be more productive in other areas because it's almost like shown to you, hey, don't put your time there, go put it over here. So, how are you feeling right now? As we're approaching this new moon, you're at the final dump stage, right? And in addition, in a grander cycle, you're at the final dump stage, the squeezing of. So let's talk about what that's been like, right? There's been a lot of stalling. We felt like we're stalled. Things are in slow motion. We feel like it's not quite right, it doesn't quite fit. Not just it's 90% there, right? And we thought it would be 100% if we just did this, but it's just, and it would have been in previous, just, a month ago. It could have been snap, 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 done, right? But now, not so much. Now, it's like not quite right. And you think, gosh, what's going on here? Physically, tons. Stomach issues. Stomach issues represent a lot of tension, a lot of kind of holding in there, and nervousness, anxiousness, waiting for the shoe to drop, and yet at the same time, Not sure of how, what the effects of that are going to be. There's kind of almost like two issues there, right? But that's the feeling of lots of headaches, breathing issues. Healthy people, breathing issues, kind of like heavy chest. That's where we're at right now. It's the final squeezing. I want you to think of it like that. Those things that you've been afraid to face, didn't want to face, thought you had faced, they were still there. It's like the splinter in your finger, that's just now popping out. You haven't felt it for the last week, but now all of a sudden it's decided that now's the time I'm coming out, and, and you start to feel it. And that process from when you start to feel it for when it's coming out is very fast. So that's what's happening now. Change takes the place in just that quick, right? Just bam. But, that could take a lot of time to get to that one moment of change. Because ultimately, you're in or you're out. You're pregnant or you're not. There is no gray area. Ultimately, everything boils down to a in or out. In this place, you can pretend there is gray area, but that's only by degrees. Because when you distill it down to its core value, you find that we're in a dualistic place. So, how do we move forward with what we're feeling? What are we supposed to do in these next few days, before the new moon, right after the new moon? What are we supposed to do? What do we take with us, right? And it's not just to recognize that, hey, in this energy cycle that we're in right now, it causes these effects on us. And some of us are aware of those shifting vibrational changes. And so we are looking at it in two angles. One, hey, what's going on? There's a physical, emotional, energetic shift in me that I can recognize, coming from out there, right? And then you have its effects on everyone, and if they're conscious, like in other words, aware of these things, or if they're not. And depending on that second group, the non-aware, and just because you're aware doesn't mean you handle it necessarily any better than the non-aware, right? We've met, all of us. So it's really more of a gear of what you can do about it. And there's so much pressure on external things. How do I change this? How do I change that? This is happening. How do I go out there and change that? So much would change so much faster is if all of that energy was spent, if everybody spent that kind of time on themselves. Because when you change yourself at the root level, then options change for you. Your considerations completely change in terms of how things work, and you ascend problems. And think about it from that state. What would happen to this place if 7 billion people who are averaging a 2 out of a 5, and I'm being generous, but if they averaged a 2 out of a 5, what if the whole planet came up 1 point? Well, how would this place change? Can you imagine the exponential changes we all would see and feel and witness and be part of at the same time? So this practice, Soulfish, is an attempt to raise the collective conscious. It's our attempt to bring more and more of us on with true teachings that go back thousands of years, with sharing from spirit, the ability to read energy to understand how it is and how it should be in a person or in a space, right? Gifts to us all to learn and to share. Everyone who's gifted to share, so that we all help each other, just like the crossword puzzle, right? To all help each other to grow and to get the download quicker. And then we still have to do the work. Everyone still had to do the work of the crossword puzzle themselves, but somehow the blockage had been removed. Our practice is an attempt to remove blockages in ourselves. And in removing them in yourself, you help to light the way for others. So this day, before the new moon, please think about what it is that you want, not what it is that you don't want. Focus on that first, and then create the feeling as if you've received it. If you do it from a mental projection, not sustainable, it is of this place, and it's not organic. What you're after really in anything you do is a feeling. In other words, a feeling of security, of stability, of love, of compassion, of nurturing, of fulfillment, of feeling like I belong, right? That is a feeling. That's why you're doing these activities, is to generate that feeling, to be in that space. So, focus more on the intention. That's where intention is so much more important than the mind, because the intention comes from it mixes the mind and the feeling. Whereas the mind, you're missing so much, and it's not sustainable, and it's half the picture, and it's not your consciousness. So, I hope this has been very helpful on your path. And until next time, much love to you.